fitness has to be fun. A balanced diet doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it never existed. Women don't feel safe in a gym.
1 second, sir. I need to check whether I'm well rested.
Why are we even awake? We don't fully understand sleep yet. It's so deep. So if you're someone who's chronically sleep deprived, you are undermoving and overeating, even without your knowledge. We have this reptilian brain in the back.
Wellness and health, and I slept like a bear.
You woke up 15 times last night. Red.
Someone's in the gym lifting weights and boom, they collapse. Someone's sitting on the floor of the steps and suddenly the heart aches and they collapse.
Everyone has a stress cup. When your stress cup starts overflowing, that's a red flag. And at some point, it goes over the tipping point, right? And that is dangerous. That is scary. There is a gym, I kid you not, in Chennai, which has billboards which says you can lose 4 to 5 kilos in 1 hour.
When will this be banned, sir?
The fastest way to lose weight is to do it slowly.
Would it be fair to say that yes, women should go to the gym?
They don't have to go to the gym, but they have to lift weights. A woman making progress and a man making progress in fitness, if it's the same progress, the woman has worked at least 2 times as hard to do that. We haven't really provided them with a safe space. And as men, we should be ashamed of ourselves for doing that.
What the fitness is going on? Hello, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, Swagatam and welcome to Chennai Live 104.8, India's first and only digital talk station. You know, my friends, today's era, fitness is not a choice. It seems more of a compulsion. Food is not just an essential, it also is a lifestyle. Back in the days when fitness seemed like a good thing that you can do, to the days today where fitness seems to be the most essential part, the most important activity of your day. In 2011, Chennai witnessed a new era of fitness where cardios met communities, where smiles met strength, and everyone who's been in that little first step of fitness up to the best levels of activity and fitness, they're very well versed with this co-founder and an amazing entrepreneur. I don't know his age, but he looks extremely fit, making me look quite unfit. With me is the co-founder of The Quad, and we have many more amazing entrepreneurial ideas that we will speak about. With me is Mr. Raj Ganpath. Vanakkam and welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. I mean, I've seen a lot of beautiful women sit on this chair. But I must say, I'm seeing a very fit man on this chair, rightfully so, a brand ambassador of fitness in our city. We're going back to 2011, sir. In our city, what we knew at that point of time were gyms and dance classes. That was the 2 things that were popular then. You took the city by storm. You made us sweat. You made us smile. You made a formula for fitness. You introduced the Quad. Who was Raj then, and how did the Quad begin?
Okay, so 2011, my co-founder Arvind and I, we moved to India. We were both in the US at that point of time. We were in California, so we wanted to, we were into fitness. We wanted to create an impact, and we thought the best place to do this was back home. So the 2 of us moved here in 2011, and that's how the Quad came to be. Both of us, as we were growing up, were not very fit at all, right? Like, I mean, we were not really fit, yes, but also not really strong, kind of struggling with our own fitness in so many different ways. We both had our journeys, right? In my case, I had asthma, could never really play, could never really run, so did nothing athletic. In his case, he used to play a lot, but then he would get tired very quickly, he was very scrawny. So at some point, very differently, at different times, we realized, fairly smart people we are, yeah? I mean, we should be able to figure this out. So why is this fitness thing so complicated? And that's kind of how we got into it. So for both of us, fitness was a very life-changing phenomenon. It really changed the way we lived our life. And we keep saying this up until today, right? Fitness is a sandbox for life. There's a lot you can learn from fitness that you can apply in everyday life. Right. And since it made a big change in our lives, we wanted to see how we can use that as a tool to create that change, that impact in many other people's lives. So along the way, sometime in 2008, 2009, when we were still there, we were dabbling, doing various different things with fitness. And by chance, we happened to meet in California. So we didn't know each other up until at that point. I went to school here in Chennai. I went to Don Bosco. He also went to school here in Chennai. He went to Chettinad. And then we did our, colleges in different places. I went to BITS Pilani. He did it in SVCE here. And then both of us went to the US to do our masters, and we were both working in California. So I was in the medical devices field. I was a research and development engineer. So I was building, basically designing implants for the brain, for the heart, for the spine, things like that. And he was in software. But both of us were very interested in fitness for our own selves. And like I said, a chance meeting. And we realized that, we had the same vision and with the same place, and we wanted to do this. So things clicked then. And we wanted to really create something that can have a deep impact. So then we spent the next 2 years getting a bunch of certifications, working with a bunch of coaches, all around the US. We traveled and we got our certifications. We did every single program, every single diet that's out there, low carb, paleo, keto, you name it, right? So we've done all of that, put ourselves through that. All of that was obviously building the foundation, the learning process. And then we moved to Chennai and we founded the Quad. And the Quad was meant to be a statement against all the commercial gyms that were out there, right? Because 2010 was an age where you had gym bros, right? And you basically had muscle heads, and the others didn't really.
The heavier you carry, the cooler you are.
Yeah. And you can see how the gyms were, right? Like people would sign up at the start of the year, then don't show up for the rest of the year, right? So it was more muscle building. It was more body building. That's what it was. So anyone who goes to any gym, a trainer there would give you pretty much the same plan, right? So you're going to train, let's say, 3 days a week. On Monday, you do chest and back. On Wednesday, you do legs, right? It's stuff like that. And on the other days, you do cardio. You're doing elliptical, you're doing, cycling, running, things like that. So this was a very bodybuilding approach, which was kind of evolved, adapted to fit the common man. And it never really worked. But in reality, fitness has to be fun. It has to be more about look, feel, and function, not just about, what is your weight, what is your body fat percentage, counting calories. So that was the Quad. The Quad was basically, the point of the Quad is to build 4 things, right? Strength, speed, endurance, and mobility, right? So in fitness, there is a term called GPP, which stands for General Physical Preparedness. And that's what all of us need, right? We don't need monster strength. We don't need muscles popping out of our neck, right? We don't have to be size 0. We don't need 6-pack abs. We need GPP. And that's what we wanted to build. And the best way to do that was to do it using free weights, not using gym equipment, right? And do it as a group in a community. So people love coming together to do hard things, right? And when you share hardship, you come together even more, right? So bonds were created and people started learning strength training. And it was a wonderful phase, right? Where we were able to introduce strength training, a very complicated concept, to the common person, and we did this outdoors. Right? And in fact, our first center at the Quad was in Alvarpet, in a play school called Bambula. Right? It happened in the morning between 5 a.m. and 8 a.m. before the school started. So you show up at 5 or 6, it would be this serious gym, right? Like people really pushing weights, working really hard. You show up at 9 o'clock, you have 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds, running around. So that's how it all started. And 15 years have passed and we've only gotten, bigger and stronger. At this point, we have over 50 coaches, as a part of the team, which started off as just Arvind and myself. We work with, over 1,200 students across the country. We have 4 centers in Chennai, but we work with a lot of people virtually. Yeah.
Well, of course, I think this was that time when people would wake up happily in the morning saying, you know what, we're going to work out. Because the idea between working out and not working out is this motivation. And people after the day's work, they were like, oh, we need to go back home, we're tired. They'd have this reason to go to the Quad and say, we're going back to something, we're ending the day on a high. That's what you all did. I think you all made lifestyle a cool thing. You all made fitness a cool thing to do. But as things have changed by, today what scares you? Because you are not just a fitness enthusiast, you're not just an entrepreneur, you're someone who understands mind and body. As much as you would know that it is not just the body that changes, but it is the mind the body that changes. The mind comes first and then is the movement. Today, when you look at society at large, what worries you and what encourages you?
See, society is going to keep changing, Okay, society will keep evolving one way or the other. We live in an age of convenience and abundance today. I mean, even 15 years back, a lot of the things that you have today didn't exist. Right? You don't have Blinkit, you don't have Swiggy. You can get your food delivered. Like junk food was not so easily available. Right? Similarly, on the movement side, the many options that we have today did not exist back then. Right? So, as a general, behavioral tendency, if you think about it, we humans, we have a way of getting what we want. Okay? Like if you go back 20 years and you said, hey, you know what, I'm building something which you can order from any restaurant. It will reach you within 15 to 30 minutes and it's free. I'm like, what are you blabbering? Because this was a time where you would order home delivery and the guy will say, பையன் இருந்தா அனுப்புறேன் சார், right? And then you don't know whether it's going to show up, right? Then you call up after 1 hour, சாப்பாடு வரலைங்க, வந்துட்டு இருக்கான் சார். Now you have this, GPS which you're tracking every second, right? We make things happen. Right? So everything that we've created is a double-edged sword, if you think about it.
Correct.
Right? It can be technology, it can be convenience, it can be all of these things. But what we have to remember is we also learn as we evolve. We learn to make the best out of it. Small example, if you think about every previous generation, they'll say the next generation is going to be, they're busted, it's done, they're not going to be able to cope
with the last best hope of planet
right?
Earth.
Yeah, but somehow the next generation manages to do well, right? They cope, they learn, they do better. Right? So if you think about fitness, nutrition today, the main problem is not too different from what it was out there, but it's just a little more. Abundance is the problem. Abundance and convenience. Now, if you think about it from an evolutionary standpoint, right, we are all animals. We're all just civilized, supposedly, animals. Right? So we have this reptilian brain in the back, which runs on a very simple algorithm. You see food, you're hungry, go eat it, no matter what. Right? If you are not hungry, there is no reason for you to move. Don't put yourself at discomfort. This is what that says. Think about a lion in the jungle. Will not move unless it has to. But if it's hungry, it doesn't matter where you are, will get it. Right? But we are today sitting in a world where we think like that. But think about it. There is no reason for us to move anymore. There's no reason, like hunting, gathering, cooking, cleaning, everything is a couple of clicks, right? So when there is no reason to put yourself in discomfort, what is your brain telling you? Chill. Why are you pushing yourself? You're like a lion who doesn't have to exert itself, right? Chill. Similarly, exercise. Don't exercise. Why? Everything is good. Just be there. That's what that brain is telling you. Similarly, when you see calorie-dense foods, like a kunafa chocolate or any of these, amazing dessert, your brain says, idiot, go eat it, right? You have to. Because this runs on a very simple algorithm where you accumulate as much energy as possible and don't exert yourself unless you have to. But you take this brain and you put it in this world of convenience and abundance and you're toast. This is why we have the prefrontal cortex, right? We evolved this brain to check on that. So when you see calorie-dense food and this brain says, idiot, go eat it, this part of the brain is going to say, hey, don't do that, right? Diabetes, heart disease, you don't want to get fat, think about the future, all of that. And we are constantly stuck between these two, right? That's the struggle we have today. The struggle is more here than it is here. Right? Everyone listening to this knows what they need to do to lead a healthy life. Right? Information is not the problem anymore. It's everywhere. It's on ChatGPT, it's on Google, it's everywhere. Whether you want it or not, it's thrown at your face. Execution is the problem. Right? I know what to do, but I'm unable to do it. And the fact that I know it and I'm not able to do it is stressing me out. Right? That is the problem. So as far as I'm concerned, in the future, we should always be building solutions for the future, right? So as a fitness entrepreneur, as a coach, as a human, when I think about the future in fitness, what I think about is how can you make it easier on people? How can you solve the psychology of fitness? How can you remove the stress from fitness? How can you make it something that you enjoy? Because as a general rule, if you enjoy something, it will become sustainable. If it's sustainable, you will be consistent. If you're consistent, you will make progress. But if you don't enjoy it, you're never going to get there.
We'll split this up into two parts. Let's understand meals and mind. Let's put this together. How does one train the mind, first of all, sir? You've written a book. You have a new entrepreneurial venture as well that talks a lot about lifestyle and its habits. It all starts with motivation, but it only sustains through the mind and its power. How does one control the mind? How does one train the mind?
Okay. When you say train the mind, control the mind, right? It sounds like a really big thing. But in reality, when you even think about people who have complete control over their mind, it's not something amazing that they did over a week. It's little things that they've cultivated as habits over a period of time, right? So when you're talking about controlling the mind, it is essentially about learning how to think. Learning how to think about different things, mindset. It's a simple thing, right? We shouldn't blow it out of proportion. Now, when you think about fitness as such, or let's talk about weight loss, right? It's easier for people to understand. When you talk about weight loss, you want to lose weight. I get it. It's very hard to lose weight. I get it. So how do you lose weight? You lose weight. In order to lose weight, you have to create a calorie deficit. To create a calorie deficit, you have to change your lifestyle. To change your lifestyle, you have to change your habits. And to change your habits, you have to change your mindset. It starts there. Okay? Now, the reason, if you think about, take someone who's struggling to lose weight, struggling to create that calorie deficit over and over again, and take someone who is not struggling, but is going through that journey. The difference between the two of them on the scale is not going to be too much. But if you ask them, do you enjoy the journey or are you suffering through the journey? The first person will say, I'm suffering through it. Right? The ups and downs, it's so stressful. I just want to give up. No matter what I do, nothing's working. The other person is going to say, I'm enjoying this. I'm getting stronger. I'm getting faster. Scale's not changing much, but it's okay. Now I'm walking more than before. I'm sleeping better. I feel better. Right? So it's all about how you view the problem. And when you look at it as an anxiety-inducing, goal-based, something you have to finish very quickly, then the anxiety comes in. Then you start doing random things. Again, this is no different from our behaviors at any point of time, right? Think about it. If you are writing an exam, if all you're thinking about is somehow pass the exam, you're just going to try and memorize everything and vomit, right? The day before the exam, you're going to be anxious. No one enjoys that process. But a student who actually likes the subject, who wants to learn, the exam is just a checkpoint, right? So that's the difference. So I think it starts with mindset. It starts with understanding that fitness is a problem that you solve every single day, right? Every day. Today, whatever you do, doesn't matter tomorrow. Tomorrow's a fresh day. You have to do it all over again, right? So, and fitness in general, if you think about it, is a series of small habits that we need to do consistently every day. Small habits. I'm not talking about anything crazy. So take anyone, right? Anyone. And if they want to be fit, what you really want to do is not just think about exercise. Because when I say fitness, the first thing you're thinking about is lifting weights, pumping iron, running, pushing, sweat, blood, tears, right? But that's a part of it. It's a small part of it. The more significant part is everything else, the lifestyle, right? How often you eat, how well you eat, how much you eat, right? How much you sleep, how well you sleep, right? How much you move through the day. All of these things come together. So when you're talking about mindset should be about seeing the big picture. Yeah. And once you're able to see the big picture, then it's about executing those little things more consistently. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. But sometimes, like you said, what we understand is nice, but how do we imply what we understand is where the challenge is. That's where experts like you come in. Now, we'll take this forward. Some people realize that smoking is terrible. We need to let that go. Eating sugar is extremely bad for the body, but we have this craving, we have that urge. Where does the mind come in here? And you are also into lifestyle developments. You're a life coach. You wouldn't like to learn the term or wouldn't like that term, but I know what you have done for a lot of people and the way you have transformed their lives. How does one resist, but not feeling like it's a sacrifice, but feeling its strengths? The moment that you're doing the same thing, but the moment you realize this is my strength, not my sacrifice, boom, you're already winning. How does one resist?
Okay. See, the first thing to remember is that this is a never-ending journey. Okay, we have to remember that fitness or health is an infinite game. Right? An infinite game, by definition, is something that is not finite. There are no given rules. There is no start. There is no finish. The number of players keep changing. The rules keep changing. Right. So there's no point comparing yourself to someone else. There's no point setting a deadline and working towards that. Right? Ideally, you want to remember that, like wealth management, health management is something that you do for a very long time. And one workout, one meal does not change anything. Right? So at the end of the day, you have to remember this is something that I'm going to keep working on. If you think I'm going to do this for a bit and then I'm going to go back to my old ways, then it's never going to work. As a general rule, you only get paid as long as you go to work. You stop doing the work, you're going to stop getting paid. So you may as well enjoy the work and do it more regularly. Right? So I think the important point to remember for all of us with respect to lifestyle, fitness, it could be weight loss, weight management, big picture. That's the key. Right? And in my book, the book is called Simple Not Easy. And the reason it's called Simple Not Easy is because if you think about fitness in general, it's very simple. Right? All of us have to do 6 things. Right? We need to eat well. We need to eat less. We need to move regularly through the day. We have to exercise consistently. We have to sleep enough, and we have to manage stress. Now, we all find different ways to do this. But regardless of who we are, whether you're Tom Cruise or whether you're, the next door guy, you're going to have to do all of this. This applies regardless of sex, regardless of age, right? Regardless of geography, we need to do these things. How do you make this work for you? Eating well does not mean you have to have, I don't know, say, steak and broccoli every day. Eating well means so many different things, right? Exercise means so many different things. What works for you? That's what you need to find out.
I like this word that you said, simple, not easy. But as much as we would be thankful to the fitness industry, I think it is this industry that's actually maneuvered and also manipulated so many things, making fitness sound so expensive, so complicated, so biased. It isn't like that. We start with food itself, sir. Food back in the days was something called a balanced diet. Today, that's not found. It is about keto, going paleo diet, different types of diet, the sacrificing carbs, different kind of things. Suddenly we see people who are lactose intolerant and stuff like that. So there is something that is not seeming right when food, the most simple, essential need of the people, has been tweaked, marketed, and complicated by the experts. You've taken advantage of the man. You all have instilled fear in the common man. That is bad, this is good, must have this, never touch this. It wasn't like that. What's the truth?
Well, the truth is, we did this. All of us did this, right? So I think it's important for us to take accountability and behave responsibly. This is not something that is, like somewhere far away, there is a room with 6 people wearing black colored clothes who are scheming against, all of us. That's not how it's working. So you have to remember that every choice you make is a vote. Okay. Now you go to your neighborhood grocery store. Okay? You go there and you ask them, hey, you know what? I heard there is this double stuffed Oreo cookie. Do you have it in your store? He's like, no, sir, I don't have it. Like, okay, cool. You come back next week and you ask him again. Now, if enough people ask it, he's going to stock it, right? So now you think about it. When you go to a store, there is more biscuits, more chocolates, more chips than fruit. Why do you think that is? Right? We choose that more than this. Okay? And over a period of time, it's a demand supply thing. Right? Any business owner is going to say, okay, this is what you want, that's what I'm going to give you. And so we play a part also. Right? It's not that it's all been, shoved into our mouths. It's just that we have to make rational choices. And we have to understand that food or delicacies, they're not all bad. See, extremes are not going to take us anywhere, right? To think that, hey, you know what, till yesterday I was like this, from tomorrow I'm like no sugar, no alcohol, I'm just going to become this person, right? You can't do that. What you have to understand is you have to embrace moderation. What is the best way for you to enjoy the world the way it is, but also do the things that you need to do. So it's always about needs and wants, right? What are your needs? Your needs are movement, exercise, protein, vegetables, fiber, water, all those things. What are your wants? Your wants are starchy food, comfort food, junk food, right? Needs before wants. It's not needs or wants, it's needs and wants. How do you balance it? So to answer your question, a balanced diet doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it never existed. What exists is a balanced approach, and that's what we should be getting at.
Fantastic. Very well put forward, sir. Now, before we take a break, I'd like to understand, tell me 3 foods that have been highly underrated and 3 foods that have been so falsely marketed.
So let's talk about the overrated stuff, right? The first thing is the concept of superfoods. There's no such thing as a superfood. Right? It varies. It changes from person to person. I always use the example, right? Technically speaking, broccoli is good and say Gatorade is bad. Okay? Sure, agreed. Now, let's say you just ran 100 kilometers. What's good for you, broccoli or Gatorade? If I feed you broccoli, you're going to kill me, right? Gatorade is what is going to get you back up. So it depends on the situation. It depends on the person. So there's no such thing as superfoods, right? That is a marketing gimmick. Making you pay so much more just to get, more of that. But in reality, what you need is protein, vegetables, starch, and balance, right? It's the first one. The other thing that's overrated is healthier alternatives. Okay? It's interesting because healthier food is not saying they are healthy food. It's saying it's healthier.
Like not as bad.
Not as bad. Exactly, right? So it's the same thing with baked chips or, like sugar-free ice cream or whatever. The truth is, why do you think people eat sugar-free ice cream? Because they think sugar is bad, right? Sugar by itself is not bad, and sugar by itself is not addictive. If it is, then we'd all be, like just dumping cans of sugar in our face. We're not. And ice cream, if you think about it, contains sugar, fat, right? And some amount of salt also. You're removing the sugar, you're adding a sweetener, it is still equally addictive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the healthier options are touted as, much better options. But in essence, what it's making you do, it's making you say eating chips is okay. Eating ice cream is okay. The problem was never the chips. The problem was never the ice cream. The problem was the habit of snacking on chips. The problem was habit of eating ice cream after every meal. Now you're not killing that habit. You're just replacing it with a 10% better option, right? Which is actually net negative. Yeah. And the third thing that I'd say is overrated is home food. People believe if I eat at home, everything is good. Well, you can make puri and potatoes at home and you can call it healthy food. It's not, right? Yeah. It's hygienic, yes. Yeah. More hygienic than eating outside.
Controlled environment, yes. But not necessarily a better environment.
Yes. Yeah. So health depends on what you're eating, not where it's made, right? These are the three things that are overrated. Maybe we'll come back from the break and talk about the underrated ones.
You can go on, sir. Please, okay. Of course.
The underrated ones. The first thing I would say is a protein powder. Yeah, a lot of people would not agree, but among all the things that are processed around us, processed food, chips, chocolate, whatever, there's positive processing also. So a protein powder, a good brand, of course, essentially what it does is it extracts protein from milk or plant sources, and it is used to fill a gap that we have. We are not accepting that, right? We are looking at it as steroids. Now, it's no different from a vitamin D supplementation. Now, if you ask me, I need more vitamin D, what should I do? I'll say, okay, go stand in the sun, an hour and a half every day at this time, right? Do that. Are you going to do it? No. We're not going to go and stand in the sun. It's out of the question. So, the simpler, smarter, better option is to supplement with vitamin D. So, same thing with protein, right? A protein powder is a very convenient way for you to fill a big gap that is in your diet.
Yeah.
But it's underrated. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of buzz, but still there's a lot of fear. And it's changing. Yeah. That's one thing.
That's because of maybe the poor quality of protein, the ingredients.
The adulteration, yes, all of that, right? But we have to remember, over 70% of milk is adulterated, right? So adulteration is a problem, not just with protein powder, it's a problem with everything, right? The other thing that is underrated, fruit. Okay, so there's a lot of confusion about fruits, right? When do you eat fruits? Should you have it first thing in the meal? It rots in your stomach. All that is complete nonsense, right? Fruit is essentially nature's candy, right? But the good thing is it's filled with water and fiber. So when you eat fruit, it's sweet, yes, but then it prevents you from overeating. Yeah. So eating fruit is a very simple way for you to stay on track when you're really hungry. And I like to say this, right? Like if you're hungry enough to eat an apple, you're hungry. Right? I'm hungry, but I don't want an apple.
You're not really hungry then.
You're not hungry. You're just bored, right? You just want to eat that food, right? And the third thing that I would say is underrated is actually eating traditional food, but with a slight balance, right? A lot of times when you think about fitness, the moment you think fitness, people are thinking, I can't eat Indian food now. I have to have salads, I should have that. No, you can eat Indian food. Indian food is incredible in the sense that it lends itself to being whatever it is that you want. You can, it already has a lot of vegetable options. It has a lot of fiber options, right? It is in a lot of ways hypoallergenic. If you want to add protein to it, this is where the protein powders come in and, your meat and paneer and all that come in, right? But you can eat regular everyday food. Just change the proportions of what you're eating and make it an exceptional plate.
1 second, sir. I need to check whether I'm well rested.
Okay.
I need to check how much good I have slept. I need to check my energy and health level for the day. It is so strange that today this device will tell us how we feel rather than the mind, the mood. I kind of don't agree with this completely, but things have changed this much. What is the role of sleep? Why do we sleep? When should we sleep? And when should we not sleep, sir?
See, sleep is the master regulator of everything. Okay. In fact, there's a wonderful book called Why We Sleep. Right. And if you read it, one of the questions that comes to the researchers when they're thinking about sleep is, why are we even awake? Right? Because if you think about it from an evolutionary perspective, everything's great when you sleep. Right? And it's also very weird from an evolutionary standpoint that animals go to sleep because it's literally putting yourself at risk, right? You're paralyzed for so many hours. So sleep should play a major role. Truth is, we don't fully understand sleep yet. It's so deep, right? It's fascinating, the science behind sleep. But I can tell you that sleep pretty much determines everything in your body. Sleep is what helps everything come together. Now, a lot of people think you build muscles at the gym. You don't. See, when you're building muscles, when you're talking about fitness training, right? It's a 3-part process. The first part is stressing the body. That's what happens when you're lifting weights, running, right? You're tearing muscle fibers inside. The second part is recovery, which has two parts. One is nutrition, right?
Yeah.
You feed the body, which is what makes it come back stronger. But more importantly, for all these muscle fibers to come back, stronger together, for the nutrition, for it to get assimilated and, converted into real results, you have to sleep. And that's where everything comes together. This is physically. Mentally also, if you've learned something, for that to make sense in your head, you have to sleep. Your neural pathways, like literal bridges in your brain, are being formed when you learn new things. So literally sleep controls everything. From a fitness perspective, from a weight loss perspective, sleep essentially controls your behaviors. Okay? You behave very differently when you've slept well and when you haven't slept well, right? And I'm talking purely from a fitness perspective.
Yes.
So when you haven't slept well, your body the next day is already physically and mentally tired and sluggish. Okay? So if you haven't slept well, chances of you going to exercise is very low. Even if you go, you're not going to push it. Even if you push it, you'll probably get injured. Right? Doesn't make sense. Similarly, on a day when you haven't slept well, you cannot make mindful choices. So if you're someone who's chronically sleep deprived, sleeping about 5.5 hours, 6 hours, over a period of time, you are chronically under-moving and overeating, even without your knowledge, right? So you're wondering, why am I not able to not snack in the evening? Why do I need that samosa? Why am I not able to say no? You're able to do it, maybe because you're very disciplined. No, I just sleep better, right? So you are just more in control of your behavior when you've slept well. And the same thing applies for stress also. Yeah.
But you only mentioned about the hours, and that was beautifully explained how sleep actually decides your entire waking hours, But you spoke about 5.5 hours, 3 hours, 7 hours. You spoke about the duration of sleep. But there's something called the quality of sleep. What you do before you sleep and what you do as soon as you wake up, they also decide.
Absolutely.
So what is it that we should not be doing, and what is it that we should be doing before we sleep? To put us to good bed, you need to pamper yourself. You need to create that environment.
Yep.
But we're doing the wrong things. Mobiles on the side, lights, scrolling. We're doing all the wrong things, chatting, thinking of the next day's plan of action. What should we be doing? How do we prepare the body and mind for a good night's sleep?
Got it. So with sleep, there's actually three things, right? The sleep quantity, which we spoke about, sleep quality, and sleep latency. Right? Sleep latency is essentially how long it takes you to fall asleep once you go to bed. Now, this is a problem for a lot of people. You go to bed, not able to sleep, right? Mind won't shut off. You're tired, but wired. You're exhausted. You've been waiting to sleep all day, but then you go to bed and your mind's like, hey, let's think about all the problems you have, right? And you're not able to sleep. So what do? You get on your phone and you're scrolling because you think, I am just going to pass out at some point. I keep watching TV or a show or whatever, right? But what happens is when you watch something on a screen, there is blue light from it and the content there is stimulating, right? So the stimulation plus the blue light it helps you fall asleep, sure. Helps you as in like boredom, you just fall asleep, but it's affecting the quality of your sleep. You're not able to get into deep sleep. So when you're thinking about sleep latency, ideally, your sleep latency should be anywhere from about 7 to 20 minutes. Okay? If you're falling asleep within 2 minutes, chances are you're very sleep deprived, right? So it's normal for people to take about 7-8 minutes and, gradually go into sleep. Sleep duration for adults, you need 7 hours of sleep. Right? You can convince whoever you want saying, I'm superhuman, I can do it 5.5 hours. Your body is not buying it though, right? You will pay for it much later. Some people need more, 8.5, 9 hours to feel fresh. See, ideally, you want the amount of sleep that makes you feel fresh, but for very few people, it's under 7 hours, right? If you're someone who sleeps, 5.5, 6 hours and says, no, I'm fine, try sleeping 7+ hours for a month and then talk to me. You'll see the difference.
You'll be more than fine. You'll be very, very fine.
Absolutely. Right? In fact, you don't know how amazing it feels to actually have good sleep. That's the quantity part. The quality part. Now, when you're talking about sleep, there are sleep cycles, right? Like every sleep cycle is about 100 minutes. And you go into various levels of sleep. There is deep sleep, REM sleep, and you need all these layers. And each of these layers of sleep play a particular role. And it also helps with memory, with emotional robustness, right? How you deal with the world. In fact, dreams are a way of simulating, right, different scenarios that you can't simulate outside. So every little part of this plays a role. So while it may not make a difference in a day or two, it does, in fact. Having bad sleep even for a day has an effect on your blood sugar, on your heart rate, on your testosterone, all of that. But if you're chronically sleeping less over a period of time, all of this is taking a hit. And that is something we need to talk about, right? Because if you don't fix sleep, you are just force-fitting the others. You're just white-knuckling your way through life, and you cannot thrive. You can survive, but you cannot thrive without good sleep.
Yeah. So you spoke about this Whoop and those rings and all of that. Today, Whoop is more like a statement to the society. Today, before they take a gym membership, before they go for a workout, they say, let me buy that Whoop so people know that I am conscious about my health. Is Whoop an essential? Is it just a fad? Are these rings essential? What is the role of technology to help us transform, sir?
Great question. Great question. Because to be honest, right, my answer to this is it's evolving. Okay. See, technology is not a thing, it's a phenomenon, right? It's multiple dots connected. We are going to a place where we are able to track everything we need to track very conveniently. I don't know what that end result is going to be like, but we are going there. And that is important because a lot of people today are completely unaware of their current health scenarios, right? Especially people who are not overweight, right? They feel I'm not overweight, I'm not fat, so everything should be fine. But no, there could be a lot of issues in you, right? So the eventual goal is to come up with a convenient way of tracking health metrics so you can act on things before it's too late. But we are nowhere close to that yet. But to get there, we have to have all these things. Like when you guys remember the Fitbit, when it first came out, way before the Fitbit, about 7-8 years ago, there was something called the body bug. Okay, this was back in the US, right? It is a thing that you attach to your body, a body bug, which you wear all the time, and it tells you the calories you burned, how much you're sleeping, which is essentially what a smartwatch does today. But it was a very specialized piece of equipment then. From there, every iteration is an evolutionary step towards that end result we're getting to. So Whoop is today's version, right? So I won't call it a fad. It does play a necessary role because without that, you're not bridging the gap, right? So we have better devices today than we did 10 years ago. In another 10 years, we will have much better devices. But like everything else in fitness, it is a double-edged sword. You need to learn to wield it. In the sense, you can't be afraid of it. It's like technology, it's like devices. I mean, you can't say, devices are bad, I'll never use it, right? You have to use it, but how do you smartly use it? So I think technology is very important. Data is very important. Incomplete data, inaccurate data is dangerous, right? Because you wear your watch for some time, you don't wear it for some time, it gives you data based on that, right? But it doesn't know the full picture. But at the same time, all these people who are paying for, Whoop and Garmin, well, it's an investment towards the future. You're paying this now, knowing it's inaccurate, knowing that it's going to become accurate.
So basically, lifestyle is not just what we have with us, it's the mind that creates the environment around us. It's not about how fast you need to achieve something. At the age of 20, do this. At the age of 30, get this. At the age of 40, buy this. At the age of 50, achieve this. It's not that. Take life a bit slow. Life can be long or short, but life should be treated slowly with a sense of urgency, but still a lot more slow and controlled. Your latest entrepreneurial venture seems to be more of a lifestyle generating idea with a manual of how to do it. You're not just saying you need to do this, you're taking people along. Tell me about slow burn method. Why is this the most essential tool for people to live and live happily, sir?
Got it. So, firstly, slow burn method. The reason it's called slow burn method is it's a commentary against everything we spoke about, all the rapid weight loss programs, like 21-day cleanses and things like that, right? Because we have to remember that any organic process takes time. Okay, anything to do with your body takes time. We have arrived at convenience so much that we are thinking everything should happen really fast, right? And I always say this, right? Our brains are in the future, but our bodies are stuck in the past. And our bodies are from 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago. It hasn't changed much. Right? It takes a while for it to burn calories, for it to burn fat, for it to build muscle, for it to build bones. It takes time. But our brains are already thinking, how can I make this faster? Right? Blinkit delivers in 10 minutes. Why not 5 minutes? Right? So when everything is happening in 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, right? When reels are 1 minute long, when watching a movie feels productive, we expect fitness, weight loss also to happen like that. Right? If I don't see results in 2 weeks, I'm done. Right? So you promised me that. So again, like I said, we are voting, right? So what is being sold to us is what we are buying. So over and over again, there used to be a time when people sold, 6-month programs, and now 3-month programs, and you have 4-week programs. And in fact, there is a gym, I kid you not, in Chennai, which has billboards which says you can lose 4 to 5 kilos in 1 hour.
What are you saying? Is that outside a stand-up comedy
No,
space?
it's on a bus. It's around town. Okay, so I'm not going to mention what gym this is, but this is there, and there are
In 1 hour.
In 1 hour, right? Basically, what they do is they just thrash you around, so you lose enough water and all that, and you see a difference. But again, when you're desperate enough, you will do whatever it takes, right? So the slow burn method was built as a way to talk about all these things, right? And to help people understand that there is a way to get to whatever you want to get to, lose weight, get fit, get healthier. But it's going to be slow. So again, this is, if you think about business also today, it's the same thing, right? When we talk about startups, you either go big or you go bust. 1 year, you have to be valued at $1 billion. If not, what is the whole point, right? But large corporations, it could be TCS, it could be Infosys, it could be any of these things. It took years to build, right? So things that are worth having take time to build. And that is true with fitness and health also. So slow burn method is essentially a way to put your lifestyle together. It is about structure, it is about balance, right? And it's a nutrition first program because again, like nutrition is the first pain point, right? For all of us. Exercise, we do it 3 times a week. Food, at least 3 times a day, right? So we make too many mistakes when we eat. We are so confused. There's so much content out there. So the point of slow burn method is 3 things, okay? First one is to simplify fitness. You cannot live your life counting calories, weighing and measuring everything. Can't live like that. You can do it for a month, for a couple of months. But if you want to stay healthy, fit, in shape, lean for the next 30, 40, 50 years of your life, you're going to have to figure out an approach. You're going to have to simplify it, right? That's the first point. The second reason is clarity. There is so much confusion, right? And it's only going to keep getting worse. You need to know how to be clear about these things. And the third thing, and the most important thing, is kindness. See, when you think about fitness, when you think about weight loss, it is usually a very stressful, pressurizing, anxiety-inducing process. I think about it. I think about this person who's been overweight for a while, is trying their best, right? Is trying to go for a walk, trying to eat, doing all this, and then they get on the scale. That moment that they get on the scale, they're so anxious. They're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? If the weighing scale says 1 kilo more, everything comes shattering down. Now you have to remember that this is not just a physical problem. It's mental, it's emotional, right? And it drives you crazy. You're thinking about this for the next many hours. So when you go out for a meal, when you're meeting people, you're thinking, what if someone comments on my weight? What if I stand next to this person in a photo? Will I look big? It's too much. You cannot live like this. There has to be a simpler, softer, kinder approach to this whole thing. And that is the slow burn method. And the slow burn method, the focus is this. No pressure, no deadlines. Focus on the effort. Do what you can today and do that every day, right? Trust the process. Regardless of what the results are, keep doing the work. Because like long-term investing, like wealth management, health is the same thing. Things accumulate. They compound over a period of time.
It seems like a place, a safe space. It seems like a non-judgmental space.
Absolutely.
And in the gym, there's a lot of self-hate, self-change. This seems like a space where there's self-love.
Yes.
There's an understanding to yourself, which is amazing.
And that's precisely what we want to work on, right? Because again, like I said, everything starts with a mindset change. Okay. So if you're constantly trying to just try to do things fast, you're not going to be enjoying that journey. You need to be able to accept yourself and accept that. See, at the end of the day, what is it that you want? You don't want weight loss. You want a better version of yourself. You want to look better, feel better, function better. And that's going to happen not with intensity, but with consistency, right? And what is the slow burn method doing here? The slow burn method serves literally as a GPS, as a lifestyle weight management GPS, right? And why am I saying GPS? Because think about it, any kind of weight loss journey, any kind of fitness journey is you're going from point A to point B. Let's say I asked you, hey, you know what, Rajiv, I want to go from, we're in Nananagar, I want to go to Besanagar. How far is it? You're going to be like 20 kilometers. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to get out, sit in my car, drive 20 kilometers straight. Will I get there? No, I'll crash land in 2 minutes, right? There's a left, there's a right, there's a red light, there's a path. Not just that, there are speed limits. There are times when you can go fast. There's road work happening. And I will get distracted and take the wrong turn. And what does a GPS do when you take a wrong turn?
Redirect you.
Get you back on track. The job of a GPS is to get you to your destination in the safest and fastest way possible. And that's what this does. And that's why I keep saying, the fastest way to lose weight is to do it slowly. Every single time.
In the recent, not one, not two, but several, someone's in the gym lifting weights and boom, they collapse. Someone sitting on the floor of the steps, boom, they collapse. Someone's out for an evening stroll or a jog and suddenly the heart aches and they collapse. Once can be, life is like this. Twice can be, it's fate, it's destiny. When it happens repeatedly, the fitness industry needs to answer. Have you actually taken lives in the hope of saying, we're giving you a better life? Something's going wrong. The balance is not there.
Yep.
The sync is amiss.
Yeah.
Why has nobody come out and said that this could be the reason and this is where the fault lies? It goes to protein powder, it goes to steroids, things that have no proof. But what's the science? If you're a scientific man, where's the science?
Yeah. So well said, right? I think once can be a coincidence, unhappy coincidence, but when it happens repeatedly, there is something that's happening there, right? So there is a reason for everything. There is a science behind everything that is repeatable, okay? So if you look at all these scenarios, again, it changes based on each scenario. The core of the issue here is some form of imbalance, okay? We are looking at one part of a person's life. Just because a person goes to the gym every day and they're, I don't know, pushing iron or running really hard or whatever it is, we think that this person has a great lifestyle. You might have an exercising habit, but you might have a terrible lifestyle. Okay. So what do I mean by that? If you're someone who goes to the gym, trains really hard, but doesn't care about your nutrition, okay, what happens is, yes, you are getting stronger, you are getting faster, but you're not getting healthier. You might even be gaining weight, right? Now, at the same time, if you're someone who's training really hard at the gym, eating very less, but you're not sleeping, then naturally your stress levels are going up. Now, what if you're a person who's training very hard, eating very less, but not sleeping, and your life is very stressed out? Say you're in a tough job, bad marriage, you're a caregiver, something of that sort, right? So you have to think of this thing as a stress cup. Everyone has a stress cup, right? And you fill that cup every day. From the time you wake up, you gradually fill up. Some instances, some scenarios fill it up more, some don't. But when your stress cup starts overflowing, that's a red flag. Right? And when your stress cup overflows every day regularly, this is also accumulating. The compounding I told you about before is both this way and that way. Right? It is a double-edged sword, that one too. Right? Everything compounds. So if you are training really hard and you're depriving yourself at the cost of sleep and stress, it's adding up little by little by little. And one day it goes over the edge. Right? So for each of these people who have been through this, they may have been different scenarios that caused it. But at the end of the day, it is this imbalance that's happening, right? And it's very common. Like if you want to take a very simple example, think about nutrition, right? If you eat 90% protein and very little vegetables, is that good? No. But you said protein is good. Yes, but there has to be balance, right? What if I don't eat any protein, right? Now we're saying animal products are bad, so I'll have only this. Is that good? No. You'll create deficiencies. You need a balance, protein, vegetable, starch.
So it's not the instance that when this calamity happened or unfortunate incident happened.
No, I'm glad you pointed that out.
What led to that, that, the days, the hours, the habits, and the thoughts as well.
Yes, I'm glad you brought it up. It is the tipping point, right? And this is true with any injury, right? So if you even talk about injuries in the gym, you're pulling your back, very rarely is it a freak accident that happened right there.
Correct.
It's been building up gradually. And that day, that rep was the tipping point. So same thing for a person who's highly stressed, right? And who's just pushing through life and thinks that, you know what, everything in my life is going crazy, everything is in fumes. Exercise is where I can control things. That's my space, so I'm going to go and push. You keep doing that, stress adds up little by little by little, and at some point, it goes over the tipping point, right? And that is dangerous, that is scary.
Fantastic. Very well explained, Mr. Raj. I mean, I believe that fitness can be understood, but it's a bit complicated. You made it sound so simple, logical, and scientific as well. If you have one advice, whether it's health, whether it's life, what is your one philosophy of life that you live by from the shores of from America to India? One thing that you've learned on this journey and you say, you know what, this is what I've learned about life and health. Follow this one, it's a good one.
It's an infinite game, right? So keep it simple and stay consistent. That's it.
simpler to say. But if we do the slow burn method, I'm sure we'll get there. So thank you very much for coming on Chennai Live, for the wisdom, for the health tips, and for the way you redirected mindsets towards life. I think it's been amazing. You are an icon for the city and for the country as well, in terms of how you have redefined fitness, and also the way you have simplified health against the tide of what people do around. I thank you very much, and I hope to have much more conversations with you. Thank you very much for coming on Chennai Live, Mr. Raj. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's very kind of you. Thank you.
This is Chennai Live, Radio Redefined.